Jack Harlow's journey from a bright-eyed kid in Louisville to a chart-topping rapper is often painted as an overnight success story. In reality, it's a more complicated, misunderstood rise. For every smash hit and cosign he's earned, he's also faced skepticism and backlash. How did a curly-haired white kid from Kentucky become hip-hop's darling and punching bag all at once? The answer lies in a story of youthful ambition, explosive breakthrough, harsh criticism, and eventual redemption. Harlow's story offers a candid look at the tension between public perception and personal authenticity in rap culture, one that both his fans and skeptics can appreciate.
Louisville, it's like an island in the sea of something totally different.
Jackman Thomas Harlow wasn't discovered so much as he willed himself into hip-hop. Growing up in Louisville, Kentucky, Harlow fell in love with rap thanks to his mum's eclectic music taste. She bumped classics like A Tribe Called Quest and Outkast, which later led a young Jack to idolize artists like Drake.
I know.
By age 12, he had already decided he wanted to be a rapper and got straight to work.
I'm the new kid tying up the loose ends, hip-hop game. Give me 1 decade, I'll be taking over, riding beats like a Segway.
He started recording homemade mixtapes in his bedroom and even sold CDs at his middle school for a few bucks each. This precocious hustle wasn't just a phase, it was a sign of the drive that would later define him. In those early years, Harlow grappled with finding his voice. What could a white kid from the suburbs rap about without coming off as a poser? He got a key piece of advice: write what you know. So instead of imitating a rough street narrative, young Jack spun rhymes about his own life rather than trying to imitate what he heard. It's that honesty which set the foundation for his authenticity. He was hyper aware that he didn't fit the typical rap mold. Harlow's openly acknowledged he's a guest inside the house of hip-hop culture, vowing to earn his spot through respect and skill. This mix of self-awareness and ambition became his compass. By his late teens, Harlow's talent and local grind was impossible to ignore. He had formed a rap collective, released multiple independent projects, and honed his stage presence in local venues. At 18, while still in high school, he was meeting with major labels. In fact, the buzz around his 2017 track, Dark Knight, ignited a bidding war that ultimately landed him a deal with DJ Drama and Don Cannon's label Generation Now, an Atlantic Records imprint that had previously signed Lil Uzi Vert.
He had put out a record called Dark Knight. We weren't 100%. We were like 75%. And then he put out Dark Knight and we was like, okay, we got to do it. Like, when I signed Jack, he looked like Napoleon Dynamite.
Harlow wasn't even 20 yet, but he had positioned himself at the doorstep of the industry. Impatient and laser focused, he could practically see his future stardom on the horizon.
In the actual rap game, I feel like this is something that could actually, carry some weight outside of Louisville. Music speaks for itself.
His big breakthrough arrived in 2020 and it hit like a lightning bolt. After years of grinding, he dropped a single called What's Poppin', and suddenly everyone knew his name. The track took off on TikTok and became inescapable that summer, climbing to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 after the release of the remix and even snagged itself a Grammy nomination. Suddenly, Jack Harlow transformed from a regional up-and-comer into a national sensation. He found himself on the XXL freshman class of 2020 and soon released his first major label album, That's What They All Say, which is now 2 times platinum. For a moment, it seemed like Jack Harlow could do no wrong. He had the charismatic persona and witty one-liners that made for viral interviews.
What's your type?
My type? Dark hair.
A genuinely infectious hit song and cosigns from industry heavyweights.
Yeah, what's poppin'?
In 2021, he bolstered his mainstream takeover by teaming up with Lil Nas X on the chart-topping Industry Baby. By this point, the hype machine was in overdrive. He was the charming, curly-haired Jack the Lad appearing at NBA games,
This is Jack Harlow,
on late-night TV, and rubbing shoulders with some of the biggest pop stars. Yet the same meteoric rise that won Harlow fame also risked distorting how people saw him. Fans embraced his come-up story and playful confidence, but a growing chorus of skeptics wondered if his overnight success was too good to be true. After all, hip-hop has seen its share of one-hit wonders and fueled phenomenons. Was Jack Harlow really about this life, or just riding a momentary wave? As his singles dominated radio and streaming playlists, some listeners started to scrutinize the substance behind the swagger.
There's also a strange amount of rumors about me. You know, some people think I'm only 5'10", stop it. Other people think I was created by the CIA, no telling. Some people have even gone as far as to accuse me of being white.
With rapid success often comes backlash, and Jack Harlow was no exception. As 2022 unfolded, cracks appeared in the public's perception of him. On the internet and in hip-hop circles, detractors accused him of benefiting from his skin colour and image, suggesting that he was being propped up as a marketable white rapper in a black art form. Part of the pushback stemmed from Harlow failing to recognise a Brandy song during a radio show game.
Who's Ray J's sister?
Oh my God!
Who's Ray J's sister? Yo, fat, he's serious. I didn't know they were siblings. Who is it? You didn't know Brandy and Ray J are siblings? Yes! Wow. Nobody's ever told me that in my life. You just found that out today?
Social media roasted him for not knowing R&B history. Little moments like that fed a narrative that Jack was ignorant to the culture that he was profiting from. He took some of it in stride, even inviting Brandy to perform with him on stage later, but the incidents piled on. Jack also drew ire for things like wearing a satin bonnet.
I'm just gonna be real. The bonnet is for black people.
Critics cried cultural appropriation, saying he was co-opting black style for clout. In short, as Harlow's profile grew, so did the microscope over whether he was authentic enough to deserve his spot. The backlash might have remained a niche Twitter conversation if not for Harlow's own critical misstep. His much anticipated second album, Come Home the Kids Miss You, released May 6, 2022, was poised to cement Jack Harlow as rap's next superstar, but it backfired spectacularly among critics and many hardcore fans. Despite strong sales and a couple of radio-friendly hits, the album was panned as a creative disappointment. Reviewers argued that Harlow had played it far too safe and shallow. Pitchfork slammed the project as one of the most insipid, vacuous statements in recent pop history, complaining that none of Harlow's real-life personality or wit came through in the music. To put it bluntly, they found it boring. All glossy production with little substance, and gave it a dismal score of 2.9 out of 10. Other outlets and hip-hop commentators echoed the sentiment. Jack's easy charm and technical competence were there, but the album lacked soul and originality. It seemed as if Harlow was so focused on making hits and maintaining his image that he'd lost sight of artistry. Even some fans admitted the record felt hollow, like a bunch of Instagram captions over generic beats.
As much as he sounds like Drake, the actual Drake feature is the best part of the album.
This was a pivotal moment in Harlow's career. In the span of about 2 years, he went from being hailed as a fresh voice in rap to being dragged as overrated. The hype that once lifted him up was now a weight on his shoulders. You could sense Harlow himself felt the sting. Here he was, living his dream, a famous rapper with plaques on the wall. Yet, the narrative had flipped on him. For a while, it seemed Jack Harlow might become another cautionary tale. An artist who flew too close to the sun, got burned by the backlash, and faded out. But that's not where his story ends.
I love that album. I see a lot of redeeming qualities in that album. I had so much fun making it, but I definitely afterwards spent some time feeling a bit misunderstood.
Faced with criticism and doubts, Jack Harlow decided to change the narrative. In April 2023, less than a year after his underwhelming second album, Harlow surprised everyone with a new album titled Jackman. The way he rolled out his third album said it all, by saying nothing. There was no big marketing campaign, no lead single service to pop radio, no superstar features hyping it up. He announced Jackman just days before release, almost as if to say, let the music speak for itself. Clocking in at a tight 24 minutes with 10 tracks, Jackman felt like a deliberate reset. A back-to-basics, introspective record aimed at reconnecting with the essence of who Jack Harlow is as an artist. On this album, Harlow stripped away the glossy excess and got personal. The production is often minimal, driven by soulful loops or subtle beats that put the focus squarely on his words. He dives into weighty topics that would have been unthinkable on his previous pop-orientated project. Racism and white privilege in hip-hop, the complexities of his family and hometown relationships, even a dark story about a friend's abuse that had listeners startled that Harlow would go there.
Kevin who?
One song finds him addressing the uncomfortable realities of being a white rapper. This kind of raw self-examination was exactly what skeptics had been wanting from him. No flexing, no hit formula, just Jack being Jack. Crucially, Jackman doesn't abandon Harlow's confidence or humour, it just channels them in a more authentic way. He still throws a few braggadocious punches. On the track They Don't Love It, he boldly refers to himself as
the hardest white boy since the one who rapped about vomiting sweaters.
A tongue-in-cheek and eyebrow-raising claim to Eminem's throne. But for the most part, the album is grounded and mature. On the closing songs, Harlow gets downright vulnerable, posing questions to himself about fame, mistakes, and staying true to his roots. There's a sense of atonement running through the project. It's as if he's implicitly acknowledging how the glitz of stardom led him astray, and using these new songs to course correct. One reviewer aptly noted that Jackman felt like a much-needed comeback, and a return to the more soulful, honest vibe that Harlow had when he started out. The no-feature approach and organic feel of the album was refreshing. The response to Jackman marked a turning point. While not a commercial blockbuster on the level of his previous releases, the album earned Harlow a measure of redemption in the eyes of many critics and skeptical listeners. Publications and hip-hop forums that had written him off were now acknowledging his growth. Fans too felt vindicated. The talent they saw in Jack was on full display again. Importantly, Jack himself seemed more self-assured. He proved he could take the punches, learn from them, and come back swinging on his own terms.
All these moments are tear jerkers for me because I'm making that kid proud. You know what I'm saying? When I was 12, like that's the type of acknowledgement I wanted. So even if it all stopped today, there's stuff I can hang on my mantle forever to say, look what you did.
Jack Harlow's rise, fall, and resurgence highlight a fundamental tension in rap culture, the battle between perception and authenticity. In an age of viral fame and constant scrutiny, it's easy for an artist's image to overshadow their artistry. To some, the charismatic golden boy with slick flows. To others, a manufactured star who hadn't paid his dues. The truth, as his journey shows, is more nuanced. Yes, he benefited from inherent privileges and timing, but behind the perception was a young man genuinely passionate about the craft. One who had been honing his skills since childhood and navigating an industry eager to define him. His story demonstrates how quickly the pendulum swings in the court of public opinion. 1 minute, Harlow was heralded as the next big thing, then soon after was on the brink of being ostracized from the hip-hop community. The backlash he faced was in part the genre's natural immune response to anything that feels inauthentic. And to be fair, even Jack realized he had to step up and bring more of his real self into the music. By doubling down on authenticity with Jackman and beyond, he began to reconcile the dissonance between who he is and how he's perceived. In doing so, Harlow has started to shift the narrative back in his favor. Today, in 2025, Jack Harlow stands as an artist who's been humbled but not defeated. He's learned that credibility in rap isn't a given. It's earned through honesty, consistency, and a willingness to grow in public. Not every skeptic has been converted, and Jack will always have his haters, but he's far more equipped now to let his work do the talking. He's done chasing validation and is content to let the music speak. That stance in itself is a sign of an artist coming into his own authenticity. In the end, Jack Harlow's misunderstood rise isn't just about one rapper's image makeover. It's a case study in how perception can cloud reality in the music world. His journey from ambitious Louisville kid to criticized superstar to redeemed rapper underscores that authenticity is a marathon, not a sprint. It can be obscured by hype or doubt, but with time and perseverance, the real will eventually shine through. Jack Harlow's story reminds us that in the music industry, as in life, you might stumble when trying to be the person everyone expects you to be. True success comes from finding the confidence to be yourself and letting that truth reshape everyone else's perception.